good morning, guys. Evening, afternoon. Welcome to Arts and Offers. This is our podcast where we talk about the connection between poetry and business, trying to become financially, creatively independent poets. My name is Jeff.
I'm Matthias.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay.
Pretty good. I feel like staying busy is taking on new meanings because I really don't think that I really understood like not how busy I was, because I still think I was busy before, but how busy I could be was like in a kind of a good way. So I feel like I've been able to really formulaically kind of build up the calendar and build it up in a way that is more beneficial to my workflow. So yeah, things have been going pretty good. How about you, man?
All without a website. That's amazing. That is like, in all honesty, that is really amazing on one level. Things are good actually. So, and this ties into our topic today, talking about video, is that so my main channels just yesterday passed over 30,000 combined subscribers on YouTube, which is exciting.
Just be pushing a button,
and it's
I saw that, man. Congrats.
Thank you. And it's like a legit 30. So it's not like Wayne Gretzky and his brother tying or like breaking the record for most assists in hockey, and like his brother has one. And Wayne Gretzky has like a couple thousand, or like LeBron and like Bronny for like most threes for like Father's Day. It's legit. It's like 15 and 16, And that really kind of got me thinking about how, in terms of the decisions I made in my life, I think focusing on video has been, in a lot of ways, and it's kind of wild to say it, but as impactful as things like graduating from college, getting married. I'm not saying it past it, but I'm saying just in terms of like, and just like family, like it's really changed the trajectory of the life that I'm able to lead immensely, and it's given me a lot more freedom, and not necessarily in the ways that I expected it to, and so. If it can do it for me in a way that allows me to develop so many skills and also give opportunities to become a platform for poets and for art, it can do it for you. And so I really kind of wanted to spend some time today just talking about why I think video has been really influential. I kind of just want to go into just kind of how it started a little bit. So I was teaching at a language center for a while, and that's kind of how I always thought it would be. I would be teaching at schools or language centers forever. And then I started taking on some students on the side, like just kind of like teaching on weekends and things like that online. And what I found was I kept referring students to other resources that were online. I'm like, oh, we just talked about this in class, so if you want to practice this more, go watch this video on this other channel.
Yeah.
And it's like, why am I directing people who trusted me to give them the information
to other people?
And why am I shifting them, like sifting them away to other resources? Like, why can't I become the resource if I'm the one that they turn to initially? And so that's what led me to start teaching even more students online, but also starting to create the channel. It was a teaching channel. It was very slow growth. It took a very long time, like, to reach, first 1,000 subscribers, the 4,000 watch hours to get monetization. That took it was probably about a 4-year process. I'd have to look at it again. But you learn so much along the way. Like, one, as you're creating the videos, you have resources that then you can keep pointing people to. And it is painful in the sense that, I mean, my old videos are still up on like the first videos I made, they're horrible. They're really bad.
Yeah, but it's like, and I kind of want to go back to the thing that you just said, and maybe it ties into what you said immediately afterwards. It's like, these videos that you can point people back to, because a lot of times when we're thinking about doing video, we think about like video as a thing that you do and not assets that you're creating. And it, just like you said, like, you had somebody else was out there creating assets for your students to be able to reference, and you were pointing them over to those assets. But if you keep pointing people outside of like kind of the work that you're creating, then it's letting it, you should know that, okay, there's something that has a strong enough correlation to my work that I'm continuously utilizing it. And so either it is like something that, it's kind of keeping them outside, or now they have to try to create another comfortability level when they already have it with you. And yeah, that's like a really cool, because again, even when you're talking about, you have to go back and like, oh man, my old videos were like, listen, it hurts to watch.
It is physically.
Sometimes I'm watching it, I'm just but it's like a kind of an unavoidable kind of tension that you are creating between the newest, most experienced, knowledgeable version of yourself and your past self. You know what I mean? But in order for this version of yourself to exist, this version of yourself had to exist and be working and be putting out content and be putting out videos. And I mean, even what you said when it came to like kind of that 4-year window, that 4-year like span of time where you're creating, it's like, it's not just about, putting out the most perfect version of really any product that you or any asset that you can put out there. It's really about the fact that, what are you learning along the way? What are you kind of creating even workflows with, something like, a lot of times the thing that I learned from a video isn't even necessarily embedded on the screen as much as it is, something that I find out as I'm working. So funny. And it's been in this for a really long time, but when I first started editing videos, I was editing them on like iMovie, which, for reference,
it's a good start. It's a good starting platform.
Yes.
If you're a casual,
if you're, I'll say this: if you're not somebody who's invested in like both either effects, if the only thing that you're doing is looking to cut and timing and some limited transitions, yes, like that'll work. But it's so interesting, because I feel like in working on that, I kind of like worked up until like I realized like there's a threshold with with what I can create. But by then I was so good at kind of manipulating the like my video timeline and things like that in something so basic as iMovie that once I'm able to edit in other things, it's like things are so much better. And there was something that me and you talked about fairly extensively before, when we talked about like kind of being able to line up two videos, like two different angles. So it's like if you have an A cam, a B cam, and sometimes you have a C cam, but so I have I have an A cam and a B cam, and for pretty much the entire time I would be listening for like the little audio signal and everything like that. Turns out in my video editor, I can just click both tracks and then put sync audio tracks, and it'll sync it up. When I tell you, that saved so much time, but it's only something that I really, and it was like there was like an update in the editor, so it was like that was the reason why. But essentially, it's just something that you have to kind of go through that in order for you to kind of figure out like small things like that. But yeah,
and I think sometimes too, like if you first dive into something like video or audio, like some people go crazy and just like buy the fanciest cameras and stuff like that, but or like jump right into like Premiere for like video editing, and then you log in or you start using the thing and you're like, oh, this is overwhelming, this is just whereas like if you start at kind of like one of those lower bases like iMovie, you learn it to the max. And in fact, you start kind of learning hacks. I don't know if you had this experience, but you learn how to kind of hack it to achieve advanced level things that other editors can do in like a click of a button, but you learn how to kind of navigate around it. But that navigating around is actually, I think, a more valuable
Way
skill.
Yeah, it's way more valuable. It's more valuable to like both in when you can apply it to the video editor is incredibly valuable when you apply it to like your actual gear as well. So it's like, and I know throughout the years like you've been able to not only like have gear but upgrade gear. Look at, I mean, even if we talk about, I remember the era when you got this microphone, and I just remember you were like really excited about the microphone, but it's also something that's like if you are somebody who just now decided, hey, today I want to start podcasting out of kind of the clear blue, it's like you might not even really know the benefits or the reason why you would need this over something else, or you might end up spending money somewhere here where you could be spending it somewhere over here, and it might be more beneficial. So I mean, in being able to see that kind of journey, like the evolution of us, like just even like kind of doing like this particular podcast, not even to speak of everything else that you do with both Fluent American and Diversus. So I think that there's like, when it comes to that kind of experience train, and we actually we talk about it in like, I talk about it a lot in like anime terms, when it's like your main character is like kind of developing assets and stuff like that, where at the end your main character is like this most powerful being in the universe, and it happened for you slowly because you're watching it and you're watching it evolve, and it happened for them slowly because there's struggle, you know what I mean? And there's like things that you realize, okay, I have a limit that I have to get past. I have a visual that I really want to be able to access and achieve, and I'm not going to be able to do it unless I'm able to upgrade.
Right.
Or in when I say upgrade, I don't mean just in equipment. I mean like in yourself. You know what I mean? Like the version of yours, like even when you talk about like hacks and stuff like that, the version of yourself right now could look at somebody's loadout and be like, I know the reason why you're not getting what you really want out of this, and you probably create a video around it too, like, hey, this is the reason why this isn't happening, or the reason why you're trying to build this and it's not working, or your sound isn't working the way that you wanted to, or your angles aren't like kind of working the way you wanted to.
I like you mentioned earlier too, about just like lessons on like kind of perfection versus imperfection. Like I think when you work with, when you work with art, in general, but when you're working with video, like arriving at that comfort with being like, could I spend 2 more hours on this, editing every final detail to post on YouTube? Or is it good enough to kind of just ship right now and move on to the next project? And what you find, you reach a point with projects where the amount of time you spend on it to make an incremental difference is so great that it's like, right now it probably is just going to be the most effective thing just to publish it now, push it out now,
Do you find that like that you run into that a lot? Because I know like there's a lot of people that are like perfectionists that combat that feeling by just being like, I know like I'm doing these like little mini docs, and I've made like a commitment to be like, I cannot have this, because the mini docs are also not they're not a project that, maybe they can become that, but I have like 4 other projects that I'm like, they require my full attention. So I'm like, I can't have this in the edit bay for over a week. So if I am working on it, then I need to have it done by the end of this week and have like this version out. So do you feel like you are kind of consistently fighting that, or do you feel like you've kind of worked to a level of proficiency where it's like you're getting mostly what you want out of like all your content?
So I think something based on even what you just said right there, where you're like, I have all these other projects happening. Like, I think if you have a workload that you're trying to plow through, I think that is very helpful for tampering perfection, because if you only have the one project to work on, what's to stop you from, not working on that project? Whereas like for me, like I'll do it from like a diverses standpoint. So I'm really working on trying to get lots of different, recordings. We have the podcast, we have the micro mic poetry reading, we have the discussion, which I separate. Those are separate videos for me, and then we also have the Thursday workshops. So like just for diverses, any given week, I have 4 or 5 video projects.
Yeah.
I need to move because the next week there's gonna be more.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, we gotta. Unfortunately, these sorts of videos are the editing. For me, I don't want to have like lots of graphics and stuff because I want to take away. Like I want the discussion. I want the viewer to really kind of focus on the discussion at hand. So I don't want to distract.
Yeah.
It's long form. They're not. You'll see like when I'm doing like, if I cut into reels and things like that, I'll do more effects and things. But like if it's just the discussion, like I really try to let it go. Aside from like switching camera angles, that's kind of the main thing. And then like maybe like 10-second, 20-second stinger at the beginning just to kind of highlight what people are about to see.
Yeah.
And so that really moves you to push out things faster. And it's interesting working with, so we're bringing in poets for the different reading series, and it's interesting how the different poets respond to it, because there's the poets that don't do anything with video. I give them the video and I'm sure it's just sitting on their computer if they even downloaded a file at all, which is fine. And then there's other people who are really almost like micromanagey, being like, oh, like take out like this 3-second snippet here, like, oh, don't zoom in here, like, and like all these elements. And it's almost like when you do that sort of like micromanaging, you miss the big picture, because the reality is like your viewer isn't necessarily going to be paying attention to the same things you're paying attention to, and you're viewing it the way you're assuming your viewers are going to read it or watch it, but your viewer's not going to watch it the same way. Yeah. And that's, if you're not used to YouTube, or you're not used to how your audience, you don't really know about your viewing audience. I understand why you're coming at it that way, because what other frame do you have? But that can be, when I get slowdowns for editing and things like that, that's typically why.
Yeah. Something that's funny, because I think that for any of the video projects that I've put together, like for either the little mini docs, or like there's like been other like little interview, not full documentaries, but like interviews that I've like done for people. I can't, and maybe I should. I'd never give them that option. Which is like whenever I'm like producing something out, I'm like, this is like pretty much like ahead of time. I was doing something for a company where they do like multiple salons in like one building type thing.
Okay.
I can't remember what it's called.
There's a couple different ones like that. But I know what you're talking.
But essentially, like I was going through and I was like kind of doing these like recordings for each person. And like essentially part of the contract was like, hey, like, it's going to be in this format, in this format, in this format. If you want me to do it for you, just to let you know, like I'm going to send you a file that's going to be the final copy, as long as here's what's going to be in the credits, like, your name, your business, all that other stuff is going to be clear and present. And then beyond that, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I don't know, I think that a lot of people how do I put this? I think that they can put a really huge onus on like something being exactly like you said, something in their head, in their mind, how they really want to see something, and not necessarily about like, okay, what is the information delivery system going to? Like, who is it going to? What is the audience? How are they taking in this information? And so if I don't know, if you let people do that, a lot of times you'll kind of get held up.
It's true, and I don't generally do it. I'm thinking of a specific
Yeah.
case where I thought the information that was given was really good and would be really valuable for people, but I also knew this poet was going to be a stickler about some things, so it's a
Yeah.
choice.
That's
Because if I just pushed it forward, I knew that they would probably just be like, take this down.
yeah.
So it's like
It's more
in this situation, it's trying to stay ahead of the
No, you're right. No,
the
you're
wave.
right.
It's like, but yeah, in general for operations, yeah. I mean, I think I generally do what I want, and people accept that
Yeah.
without.
Well, I mean, it's not only that, because it's also like you can tell the difference between people that do things with video and then don't do things with video
Yeah.
by like what they ask of you from the video. Because like a lot of times, like they're either, oh man, so I am a person. So for the documentary, I'm like I don't like fading. I don't like fade out or fade ins.
Okay.
Like this, and maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Just like cutting right to the next.
I like.
One. Okay.
I like cuts. I really like those for like films too. Like so for all of the scripted stuff, I really like those for films too. There might be an instance if it's like the end of like a funeral or something like that where you might people are crying and sad and you don't want to just like cut maybe, but outside of like those like really highly intensely emotional downs, and so it can't be escalating emotion. It has to be like a kind of like a settling emotion. Like outside of that, I really like cuts. And I was like kind of doing this kind of interview kind of like package like for a couple people, and as I was doing like the interview, like I sent them over the file and they were just like they really wanted like these like fading transitions. And then I was just like, can I see an idea for like kind of how you envision it, because I want it, because maybe I'll send it to you and I just don't want my information on it at all, because like if I don't like it. And I was just like, I realized like their kind of point of reference was like PowerPoint presentations. Like their point of reference was like, oh man, isn't it cool that this thing fades from this to this? And I'm just like, no. No, it's not. But it's just I think it's just interesting because like people kind of ask like kind of different things. But yeah, you in your workflow and like the thing that you're producing, I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to like the poetry, like the poetry adjacent things, you know what I mean? I think some people might have their poetry up here and there, but like the poetry adjacent stuff, like people talking about their work, people talking about the reasons why they do their work, or maybe some of the other things that kind of got them into their work, that kind of stuff is just like virtually nowhere, you know what I mean? And so the fact that you're like, hey, like it's not just about like you just wrote a poem, but what about like this other stuff? That being present online is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, before even touching on that, I think just this little discussion about navigating like production discussions with people is another just valuable skill that working with video. It teaches you how to talk with people in a professional sort of setting, in terms of establishing boundaries and expectations for a project, and if you're not creating that sort of product or creating that sort of project with someone, you might not be sure how to navigate those sorts of discussions, because they can end really bad if you force it, like you can cause people to like badmouth you and things like that. I mean, you're dealing with people's likenesses and their voices, and these do have associations, so it's there's a lot of respect put towards it. And I think being able to just kind of hash out contracts, create contracts, set guidelines on what you're going to create, take input and give feedback, I think are really valuable skills that being involved with video have done. Another thing, just kind of thinking about the channels, is not even from like creating a product perspective, but just in terms of reaching people. And I think it also touches a bit on what you just said too, but when you create video around your work, it's going to lead to collaborations that you don't expect.
Yeah.
From a perspective of even just reach. Okay, so for instance, Gotcham's hanging with us. What's up, Gotcha? Um, all my channels on YouTube, and it's not even counting Facebook and Instagram, like just purely on YouTube. All my channels combined, we're getting, and I know I talk about this a lot, but I think it's really important. Like we're getting in front of people's screens, 800,000 times a month. That's not to say we're
Yeah.
getting that many views, but we're just showing up on people's screens. The little people seeing my face. You know, um, Getting in addition to that, there's collaborations that come up. I've had partnerships with different companies that see the videos and just like, hey, like, let's partner for this. We have
Yeah.
this project coming out. We think it would help people that use your channel. So how can we make this work? Um, it's led to appearances on other people's platforms, being on other people's podcasts, being on other people's channels,
Yeah.
to talk about what you do. If you don't start, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And it happens more easily than in some ways like in-person stuff, because in-person stuff you have to wait for the event. Online, people can access it at any time. You know,
Yeah.
um, my main channel gets watched. Like my two main channels combined are getting people watch me for like 1,800 to 2,000 hours a month. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I mean, even from what you just said, as far as like if you don't start, then like you're not gonna have like you kind of building up a catalog of like this work that accumulated. So it's like you didn't create one video and say like, okay, I'm gonna just keep sharing this one video until I get 1,000 views or something like that. Like you're in the motion.
People do that. Just repost.
Oh man, there's and like one of the things that I'm a big communicator of is it's like whatever project I'm working on, it's like it's not the last project I'll ever work on. So like I don't ever view it as like, okay, I would it be good if everything just shot up and was a 1,000 views in the first minute? Like, you know what I mean? Like, would it be great? Would that be like incredible? Would everything just got me 50,000 subscribers or something like that? Great, but that's not really the reality. The reality is, it's like once I'm done with the project, I'm not gonna dwell on it. I'm not gonna like, I'm gonna share it to people that I think that are going to be receptive of the project and things like that. Like, it was really cool. I had the opportunity. One, and actually, what the one of the ways that the mini docs actually came about is because I was talking to an artist about an artist, and I was trying to describe kind of like what her work was and kind of the stuff she did, and I was like, she could probably explain this a lot better, and I was like, she could explain this a lot better. And so I was just like, oh yeah, what if we just did this like little kind of mini doc? Or again, and I was also thinking about like events and stuff like that. Like I'm working on a mini doc right now where essentially we recorded like an event and we did a documentary around kind of what the event was. And for that, it's like later on down the line, I don't have to try to explain like what this event was all about. Like that, I have like something in case that people can kind of reference. And so you're kind of building up your catalog of just like work, that is as simple as I could put it, that you can really either very easily reference, and just like you said, like, it took you 4 years to kind of get to the point where you're at now, you know what I mean? And that's not by accident, and that's not that's not an accident or incident. Like, you are very carefully curating, like, okay, like, I'm editing every day. I'm creating new opportunities to shoot every day, and by building that up, you're gonna eventually kind of have a catalog. How many videos would you say you have?
On the teaching channels combined, it's about 2,000 videos since like 2018. It's a lot of videos.
Yeah, that's a lot of freaking videos.
I did my reps.
Yeah, but that's also the thing that I think a lot of people really want, that kind of, okay, this is gonna feel a little bit, because I don't want you to view your children like this, but they view their videos like children. So it's like they very carefully create and nurture this one video, and then they're very timid about putting it out, and they put it out, and then they try to ride that, because the emotional investment that goes into creating a video, the premium of that is so high. It's like you're reluctant to do it over and over and over and over and over again. You know what I mean? Whereas if you view it like,
it's just another video.
Yeah, just another video.
Just
And
another
like
video.
and like you again, you're interested in it. You're like, I really like what I do, but it's like, again, you don't view this as this is the last time I'm going to be doing this. You view this as I need to create this with all of my skills that I have, all of the assets and resources that I have, but then I need to create it, and I need to put it out, and I need to have other things that I'm working on, so that, just like you said even before, like, you don't have to, you're not in this headspace of, oh no, like, I'm very ardently just stuck on this one project. Like, no, you are, because you're so busy, because you have other things, you are looking to, like, kind of push out this video, not in a bad quality type of way, but in a and the next project awaits type of way.
I mean, I think artistically, like, the more you create something, the more you're able to separate yourself from what you create. I think a lot of times artists have an issue where if you critique my work, you're critiquing me.
Yeah.
And when that's not the case, there's a separation. I am not my work. I create my work. I put myself into my work, but I am not my work. And I think that's another way that video is really helpful, is because I think it helps build that awareness. Even from like a self-conscious level, a lot of times people don't make video because they don't like the way they look. They don't make video because they don't like the way they sound. But the reality is they just haven't seen themselves from that perspective before. And to see yourself from an entirely new perspective is very jarring at first. But the more you encounter that version of yourself that you're not used to, the more familiar it becomes. And the less you create more separation. You're like, oh yeah, that's how I look. Oh yeah, that's my voice. It's not to say that like you may still not necessarily like your voice, but you learn to kind of stop. It stops becoming an obstacle.
Yeah, stop being overly critical of it to the point where like it stops anything else. We're like, okay. Well,
yeah, which I think is really important. Like I think because it helps you create a better understanding how you present yourself to the world. Because no matter what, perception is reality in the sense that what other people, you get an idea of how people perceive you, and then you can make a change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perception is like, it's so funny. So I work with another photographer who also does like this photographer does like acting and modeling and stuff like that. But they started out as a photographer first, and so when they first jumped into this like space of like being perceived, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like kind of like really jarring for him, because like we're really used to perceiving and then helping with the perception. But yeah, once you're on camera, now it just really takes your reps. Now you just have to decide that, hey, I'm on camera every now and again. So because you're deciding that, like now it's like it's not a matter of whether or not I'm comfortable with it and whether I like how I sound. It's like I'm working with my audio, I'm working with my visual.
Yeah. So I think it actually helps a lot from a confidence and self-esteem perspective. I think it helps a lot from an awareness perspective, because again, you're much more aware of how you present to the world. I think it helps a lot from a communication standpoint. Like you start understanding the connection between body language and tone and other elements of your voice that can make you a more effective communicator. So that's another big proponent for video.
Is there anything that you learned in particular in your journey?
I think that
in that regard?
Yeah. I think a lot of times when you first like if I'm looking at my older videos, the thing that stands out a lot is um, the energy level's way off. Because the thing with video is going to remove the energy that you give. So for instance, if you're giving like a level 8 on video, it's going to appear as like a level 5. It's similar with your voice. But you don't, when you first start video, you're not aware of that. So you have to really tap into whatever it is you're feeling on video. And some people say it's like exaggerating or things like that, but I think it's more like exaggerating to me feels fake, whereas I'm not saying be fake. I'm saying, if anything, be more of the you are in that moment.
Yeah.
It amplifies. So I think that's the bigger thing. I mean, I was making, instructional videos, teaching videos, so it's, making sure people get the information. I think now when I'm giving videos, like, they feel a lot more casual in a good way. Like before, they felt kind of stiff, just it's almost too planned out and scripted. I mean, that's another thing with video. Like, I really don't recommend using scripts. Bullet points I'm okay with, but not full out scripts, because it ends up sounding too robotic. It's not very natural. I think that ability to sound really natural on camera is really key. Like, sound conversational.
People like conversation.
Yeah,
and also I think people connect like confidence and honesty with extemporaneous speaking. And so if you are reading from a script, it's like that also could easily just have been a script somebody else wrote. That like you don't mean any of these words.
You can hear it on the radio. Like when you listen to radio ads, you can tell which ones they have it there, and it's most of them. Which ones have a script that they have to read.
Yeah. There was and it happens. Okay, this happens fairly often, but I can take like the most recently kind of example that comes to mind. I'm not going to talk about what the incident is, but like the whole bunch of stuff that happened with like Shannon Sharp. And I think something that's interesting about that is just his communication, right? So, there was spaces where he was like super animated when he's talking about sports, and he's just talking about like, pretty much like talking about sports, or like sometimes he's like talks about politics, and he's having like these kind of like conversations, like he's projecting confidence and truth because this is his field. These are things that he knows. But when he was answering, like I think there was like this video that he put out essentially to answer some of the claims that are being made about him. He was like very clearly like kind of reading off of projector, and you can instantly tell the difference. I know the Shannon Sharp that is very confident and brash and energetic, and he's able to look directly into the camera and tell you this is this, or have conversations with somebody else without like kind of the teleprompter. Right. And that person just it reeks honesty and energy because that's what he's giving. Right. So yeah, you can kind of tell like the difference between the two of those things. And if you can, because even if you have to sit, I think another thing that people like to do is like, because a lot of times when you can write it down in a script, they feel like they can kind of not only see their thoughts, but they can make it more eloquent than they typically talk. And I'm like, I would advise against that. I think like if your audience is getting to know you as a person, that's much more and that's much more important than them getting to know like a very performative version of you, that you're like, this is the version that is reading off of his script this whole time.
I know we've been going on for a bit about this. The last things I wanted to just mention about video, about why I think videos really help me basically achieve independent, like I'm running my own business and things like that. It's largely dependent on YouTube, and I'm not talking about ad revenue. There is ad revenue. If I know people are probably curious, the ad revenue that I get is like, it's not like a ton. Pay some groceries, like $100 a month, but the real thing is the people it brings in, because it brings in, clients find me. I don't do any ads. I don't run any ads. Everything's organic, which means that people just stumble upon it, and then they go deeper and find out what you do, and then want to reach out and work with you. So out of all like my clients and students, like 99% of them have found me through YouTube.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing I'll say as well is that video as a format is the most giving, at least as a diss writing, because the AI is going to change things. But if I have a video of myself, and I mentioned this before, if I have a video of myself, then most likely I also have audio of myself. So I can take a video, like for instance this, like after this is done, I'm going to take the audio and put it onto the podcast platform, so you can find it on like Apple Music and Spotify. I can take the text or the video and also turn that into, I could take the video or the audio and turn that into text as well. You can run that through AI and it can create transcripts for you.
Yeah.
In fact, that's how I created a textbook. I have a pronunciation textbook I created. Basically what I did again was I planned out live streams over a series of about 2-3 months. So doing like a daily live stream, like, okay, I need to talk about this topic, I need to talk about this topic, I need to talk about this topic. I did the live stream, then I downloaded the videos, took the things I said, ran through AI to check, just like add punctuation, take out filler words, edited that text, and then I was able to create that into a textbook. And I could take the audio from all the live streams compiled and turn that into an audiobook, So able to get like a physical textbook, an audiobook, an ebook, all through video,
Yeah.
So it's no other format really lets you do that, and you're creating something that people can use to really help them, because I think that's the biggest thing. Like it comes down to impact, and I think video is the format that gives you the most impact, because you're able to reach people wherever they are. If they're on their phones, you got them. If they're on their headphones, you got them. If they're reading, you got them. Whatever it is, you can transform it into something that connects with people.
Yeah. Because it engages, and outside of like the in-person. Yeah, outside of like being like in person, it engages like kind of the most like senses on a continuous basis. Like you have like video that you're watching, but if something develops on the screen, like you're watching for something to develop on the screen, same thing kind of with the audio.
Yeah.
So yeah, video is super key, and it's also, again, for the fact that you have like a camera that is better than like. With the new iPhone, what is it, 15 or whatever it is, it's probably better than a great amount, probably any camera that you can even have on you before like 2010, right?
Including DSLRs,
including DSLRs. It's an incredible camera, and you just have it. You know what I mean? Like you have it, you talk on it, you use it for everything. And I'm like, man, like so many people just aren't utilizing that medium in order to.
That's the expensive part of your phone. That's part of your, like, why does a phone cost that much? That's
Yeah, they're not improving other, like, this thing, like what else is there to improve
like
on
the
talk
function? Faster processor.
What is there to improve on the internet? Like, no, like the thing that is really pushing your that price point of your phone is that camera and tariffs, but
so just all that to say is that the flexibility I have with my schedule, the ability I have to help other poets and artists present themselves in the world is entirely based off of video. If I hadn't started on YouTube and hadn't started on video, I wouldn't be able to do anything. Like, we wouldn't be having this conversation,
Yeah.
And I want that for you, if that's what you want for you. I think that you can really achieve a life of independence, creatively and financially, with video. So hopefully this video pushes you in that direction to get started.
Okay, yeah. I believe in it. I feel, I think that there's like I don't say it's not necessarily a wave, but there are a lot of people that are finding the value in video, especially because like people like Jeff, who are or Jeff like you, but like that are kind of introducing them to like it's almost like this acquired taste, right? It's like a lot of poets go their entire career without having a real, not only just a sit down and talk about their work, but also one that's recorded and then put out there. And then once they do it, they're like, wow, like because not only that, like if you sit down with somebody, you talk to them about their work, and you put their work out, and you put that video out there, a lot of times that process alone helps them to really be like, man, like let me
Yeah.
really put together my thoughts, or like that.
Because they're not doing it otherwise.
Yeah.
When was the last time we just talked about one topic? Like, we just talked about video for the last 45 minutes. When was the last time you talked about one topic in depth with either yourself or one other person?
It's helping you think, like, just as much as you're communicating it, the fact of you communicating it is really helping you kind of put together that thought and think about, like, well, I do, write this kind of poem a lot. I didn't even realize that. And I have this theme comes up in my poems a lot, or, this setting or this person comes up a lot. And I think being able to talk about it, and again, having it, and also kind of, it's something that kind of canonizes who you are as an artist in different eras, because now you can be like, in 2023, I did this interview, but now in 2025, I did this interview, and things change, and things are, you can really stamp, use those things as a timestamp.
Yeah. But yeah, if you guys have other thoughts on video channels, if you have questions, we have a couple of videos talking about how to start a YouTube channel. We also have a series of videos talking about how to start a podcast, if that's something you're interested in as well. If there's other topics you want to hear about, let us know. Otherwise, we'll catch you next week on the next edition of Arts and Offers. Signing off, my name is Jeff.
I'm Matthias.
Thank you guys for your time. I hope you guys have a good day, have a good night, and a good afternoon, and we'll catch you